Video games are art. From the countless astonishing views to the delectable ambience, and from the slide attacks to the invincibility frames in Dark Souls, if you've ever played a video game, you have to agree with me that it stirred some kind of emotions in you. Be they good or bad, be they awe and inspiration, or downright anger and hatred. Many times the focus seems to fall on exactly these two things, aesthetics and gameplay. And sometimes people like a game's soundtrack so much that they still make the exact same memes 10 years later. There's nothing wrong with that. But never do people seem to give as much credit to the sound effects as they should, when sound effects have such an important role in a game's identity, experience, and feel. One time this feel was so important that two guns with the exact same stats had people playing largely differently. People make games have a very good video on this, but basically in Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, the Axis and the Allied sides had identical weapons. They pretty much just had the same weapons mirrored with a different skin and different sound effects. But people were getting more kills with the Thompson, even though they had the same mag size, damage, rate of fire. So the sound effect of the gun really did persuade them to be more aggressive and get more kills as a result. Sometimes the sound effects is more than just a sprinkle of glitter which makes you think you're magic, and I'm gonna have to clean that up later. In real-time strategy games, for example, a clearer, sharper, louder sound effect usually indicates that this unit is a better form of this unit. So basically a late stage unit is usually better and sounds much better than an early stage unit. One example is Stronghold Crusader, where the Archer is a generally good ranged unit. It's got longer range and higher damage than the Slinger, for example. It's unarmored, but it can light, pitch, and fire. But when you compare it to the Crossbowmen have armor, they do more damage, and they're a bit more accurate too. So when you compare these two, you know, they're like, obviously the Crossbowman is better than the Archer, especially when you want to spam something on your walls. And then when you put them toe to toe and you listen to how the Crossbowmen sound, and you compare that to how Archers sound, you can come to the conclusion that the Crossbowmen clearly own an air fryer. We could also talk about the light ranged infantry in Age of Empires 3, where you have the Crossbowmen available in Age 2 for most European civilizations, which sound like this, and then you have the skirmishers, which sound like this. The skirmishers are generally available in the next age, so you have to progress a little bit more to get to the skirmishers, but they have better range, better damage multipliers. I think they have better health too, and they sound so much better too. Who would pick this over this? How does that work? Or you could try comparing falconets to great bombards. It's to the same effect. That it's the idea is that some units sound better than others because they are better than the units that they are compared to. Okay, well, good for them, strategy gamer girls. What about other games that more people play? Like RPGs. Let's talk about RPGs, why not? Dragon's Dogma has a lot of satisfying small detail level of sound design that really makes the grand picture seem so vibrant when you look at the game, especially when it comes to the combat, like draw your sword, sheathe your daggers, shoot some arrows, or shoot some stealth bolts with different enchantments, see how they sound. Cast some spells, some small, others enormous. You can tell that they work on these sound effects to make them sound as grand and imposing as possible to give you the best experience you could in this open world action RPG. Everybody plays RPGs, right?
Do you guys not have phones? Yeah.
Now, I'd say that there's nothing better than the spells in Dragon's Dogma, but I have to talk about the spells in Dragon Age. Everyone in the story and lore fears them, and for good reason. If you only have one mage in your party in the Dragon Age games, chances are you will struggle a lot. They're overpowered, and the sounds of their spells do more than justice to the power, the sheer power, to the damage and the stun loss that they provide. So yeah, mages in Dragon Age sound good and they're overpowered. If you play Dragon Age, please get 2 mages in your group and spam area of effect skills. It's just the best. Alright, what about action games then? Surely there are sound effects in there that make you play better. I'd say From Software's games are, although RPGs, more than fit to be action games. Dodging, iframes, linear progression, recurring rest points that serve as checkpoints that people just call bonfires. All of these things are almost synonymous to From Software games. One of the things these games have in common though, related to the video topic at least, attacks of opportunity, backstabs, visceral attacks, parry counters, hell, even the Sekiro Deathblow. They are the single most loud sound effect in these games, and it's one of the most satisfying things out of playing these games. I'm not gonna say that I play the games because I like overcoming, what the fuck was it? I like overcoming challenges, and because of that I finished the game, and I finished the game, I am not hollowed anymore. The whole philosophy of Souls-like gamers, I'm not into that, and all of the game's philosophy on greed and how it corrupts people around you, as I am into watching the Shinobi Hunter get absolutely devastated and ripped in half by Sekiro with a fury I've never seen manifested in my entire life before. Oh, State of Decay. I reviewed that one recently too. Go watch that. Talked about this in there too. The firearms are as loud as their respective calibers. So you have these stats that tell you how much power a gun has, but you can probably guess that the 50 caliber rifle, shotgun shell, grenade launcher, or explosives in general are gonna make much more noise than any gun chambered in 20 long rifles or 9mm. The big ones can even break fences. Or the fact that the Molotov clearly sounds like a cheaper version of the napalm grenade in that game. I talked about this in the review too. What are you doing here? Go watch the review. But what about unsatisfying? Games with a lazy, lame and lumpy sound design will probably make you bored of the game much quicker than a game with sharp, maybe loud, maybe satisfying sound effects. Of course, a game is much more than just its sounds. It's ambience, it's the gameplay, it's the music, it's the soundtrack, it's everything put together into a single game. Now, sounds can make or break a video game. I'm no addict of sound effects, but whenever I come back to games that I've already beaten or games that I've already played for a very long period of time, the sounds do help with playing for a long time, and this is a major reason for which I play New World and all I do is just chop wood, because the sounds are great. Mushy combat. If you've ever heard of Call of Duty World War II, you must know about the thuddy sound effects on the guns featured in there. The game feels overall pretty polished and generally a fine experience, but I haven't touched it ever since I played it for the first time, and I'm pretty sure that a major part of this is the sound effects that are so bad. Similar things can be said about melee and archery sounds in Dragon Age Origins. I'm sure if the game didn't have such good characters, world building and ambience, more people would complain about the cardboard utensils that they call weapons. It just shows its age. Playing ESO was terrible in the same regard. Like, the sounds in Elder Scrolls Online feel inexplicably normal for a high fantasy, medieval inspired role-playing game. They just don't compare to other similar games. The MMO argument is not valid, as New World, for example, makes me log into the game to log logs into my inventory. Do you get it? It's because you chop trees to get wood logs into your inventory. The echoes of the gathering tool simply bring life to the otherwise, pretty empty and cookie-cutter world of Eternum. Guild Wars also has compelling sounds. I am biased, shameless, and in partial support of ArenaNet and DevCat. I absolutely love Vindictus. But man, I hate how irrelevant Season 1 has become. The story is just dumbed down so you can get to the endgame quicker. It's atrocious. Oh, but how could we forget about shooter games? You guys remember those videos where people would take gunshot sound effects from the newest shooter games and just make remixes out of them? That almost wild. The only shooter I've played recently is Borderlands 3, but I do like to call myself a Battlefield 1 veteran. Borderlands improved massively, not only on the sounds, but also the reload animations, and the crisp shots combined with the attention to detail in the reload animations, and the fact that each corporation has their own unique style and identity in general when it comes to their weapons. It just begs you to come back. Can you hear the chainsaw in the background? Please tell me you cannot hear the chainsaw in the background. The game begs you to come back and find more guns to play with because it's just so much fun to use them. Battlefield 1 took a rather realistic approach, except for the fact that 90% of the soldiers in World War I, according to Battlefield 1, use prototype fully automatic submachine guns. The bolt action rifles just sound so good. And they look so good. Like, look, the action is so simple. Top that off with the extremely satisfying headshot sound effects in Battlefield 1. And yep, you lost 200 hours of your life playing this game. As established, sound effects play a crucial role in the sticky polish that's going on behind the scenes in a video game's development. I like to believe that a game's quality is more than that, however. The music, the story, the ambience, the quests, the characters, the ambiental storytelling. My god, there's so many things that make a game into the final product. I want to thank you gamers for watching this to the end. If you really like this, go ahead and slash the like and sub button. Seeing the big numbers increases my chances of creating new content, and I hope you have a clear sea to the next harbor.